introduce now Robert Hill, who's going to talk about light pollution and possibilities for curriculum inclusion. Where's Robert?
I'm over here. Hello.
You're in the dark there.
I'm in the dark, yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very much like to welcome the school students who've been working on the light pollution challenge from the Republic of Ireland and from the North. If any of you have the chance to go upstairs, you'll see that we're doing some really interesting new developing curriculum material, and it is curriculum related what they're doing. Even though the students don't know that, they're all looking now, it is curriculum related. And it's very much related to what I'm going to talk about now. Now, I always try to engage pupils with the latest technology, so that's going to be what's going to be in their lives in the future. But sometimes you have limited resources, so can I ask you all to hold up your thumb for me, please? We're very attached to your thumb. Now, also when we talk about astronomy and space science, of course, what we're doing is we're really observing and analysing and measuring. So how would you measure your thumb? How would you measure your thumb? Well, if I'm saying metric, what units would you use? Okay, so meters. Okay, there's always a standard former in the audience. Yeah, okay. You can use meters, yes. But of course, you use centimeters, and if you're like me and you're a bit pernickety, you know what that word means. What else would you use? Millimeters. You might draw a line around this and this. What about the length of the room? Meters. And if you're an architect and you don't want the room to fall down, you use centimeters and millimeters. What about from here to Belfast? Somebody's going to say miles. Because in Northern Ireland we keep saying never. Yes, but you could use kilometres. You could use kilometres. Now, of course, when you go into space, you can use kilometres, but get the big numbers really quick to the moon, 50,000, 100 million by the time you get to the sun. Hold your thumb up again. Now what we can do is we can use the thumb to measure the distances within the solar system. Because as you know, the distance between the sun and the Earth we call an astronomical unit. But when I'm talking to school students, what I would say is we're going to use thumbs. So instead of using really big numbers, although our standard form are like big numbers, obviously, instead of using big numbers, we can go from 1 to 40 out to 50. And that's a really nice way to try and understand the size and scale, and how we explore it, and why we measure. That's really important, what we're doing. Thank you, Albert. Usually you can hear me in France, but that's okay, thanks. What we can do is we can actually look at the new curriculum, and the curriculum is changing globally, ladies and gentlemen. If there's any teachers here, you may have heard of things like the investigative curriculum, or you may have heard of things like the creative curriculum. In the UK and Ireland, there's been a lot of changes towards this problem-based learning. Really glad to see what Connie was doing. That's exactly the sort of thing where the pupils take control of the learning and the teacher is the facilitator. And that is very much the way things are going to change over the next few years. And astronomy and space science is, we all know this, I mean, we're the converted in this audience, but astronomy and space science is a very good motivator for students to get involved in what we call STEM in the Western world, the sciences, technology, engineering, and importantly in the Republic of Ireland, by the way, one of the major things is mathematics. Ireland has just announced through the Taoiseach's department that it wants to be one of the top 5 places in Europe with competency. They want to raise awareness in mathematics. So there's big projects called Project Maths, which again are very about practical skills and capabilities. If we even look over to England, and there's lots of different places. Go to Scotland, their qualifications, the Scottish Qualifications Authority, they're looking at skills for work and vocational skills, but they still link the science and maths in there. And that's really important to keep that really good high standard of science and maths. In Gateshead, another group I work with, they have developing the curriculum creatively, and they actually use the powers of 10 with 10-year-olds. And this is something that's been taken out of a lot of curricula because a lot of teachers said it was too difficult and it was abstract. But by using astronomy and space science, of course, you can make the journey, the learning journey, relevant. And that's what it's all about, trying to make it relevant. And I use that when I'm talking about light pollution. The framework that we use in Northern Ireland is very similar to what I see happening in some areas in the United States of America, in Australia, in Tanzania and Nigeria. I've been over there. A place called Extremadura. Some people may know where that is. I had a Wikipedia. I'm actually a consultant to them on skills. And this framework keeps coming up. It's about looking at what are the big themes. So you can see at the top there, thinking, problem solving, decision making. Exactly what Connie was trying to show there. The kids are actually working on this stuff, trying to work out what happens when I change the covers, the lights, the distance, the scales, the measurements. Being creative. So they actually take control of the learning and try to understand a process or a method of learning by doing it themselves. The teacher, remember, is key as a facilitator. Self-management. So by taking control of the learning, which is what the students have been doing here, and I'm really looking forward to hearing their talks this afternoon. But self-management is very important. There's been quite a lot of reports done recently, and some of you may know about these, where a lot of the learning, it appears now, takes part outside of school. It takes part after school learning. And the pupils will tell you, how many of the pupils here, in fact, how many people in this audience, because we're all a bit nerdy in science, have Xboxes or Nintendo Wiis? Hands up. Yes, he was the first one up, the gentleman. Yeah, we all have. This is the way learning is going to go. This stuff is really, really important, because if you can engage pupils through this perspective at home, there's a better chance of them taking that learning home. And that's what we've been doing. We've been using 3D games to learn about light pollution, the topic, the remedies, the causes, and things like this. Move around working with others. I also heard, and the students will probably tell us more about this later, but I heard from the teachers, and this is the important thing, the skills that are developed, the team development skills, that the pupils have been having team development meetings over the phone, they've been having telecons. I mean, they've been working as a real development team, which is really important in the real world. So they're learning about the science and maths, and a very important topic to us, light pollution, and all of that encompasses, while developing real-world skills. And that's very, very important for the global economy. I'm not going to go through all of this. This comes straight from the Northern Ireland curriculum. It looks very similar to what we're seeing in the Republic of Ireland and again over in England and Scotland. But this assessment for learning, I'm not worried about that. It's showing that this method is very effective to boost learning. The pupils retain the knowledge more. And the problem was, and I'm sure many of you realise this if you're involved in education or if you have children yourselves, everything's about point scoring. The schools obviously have to get good grades, so it's point scoring. That's not really learning. We're filling the kids' heads full of stuff to do exams. What we're trying to do here is we're looking at the process of learning. So it's, instead of just learning about light pollution, going really into that topic, how are we going to teach this? How are the pupils going to learn? How can the pupils take control of that learning to better understand it? So it's really about the process of learning, rather than just getting this to get an exam, learn this, off a board, off a book, do the exam. It's about a process of learning and development. And the framework it's the framework that we've put in Northern Ireland, and it's starting to happen again in the Republic of Ireland and over in England, Scotland, Wales, and around the world, is it's more about making this type of learning explicit with the teacher, to make the teacher realise the potential that can be untapped through these skills journeys. This is straight off the website from the Northern Ireland curriculum. I've been very privileged in that I can tell you that light pollution is in the curriculum. Now, that's pretty good, isn't it? Northern Ireland actually has it as an integrated part of the curriculum. And how did that happen? Well, I wrote it. That's why. I was asked to work on this. And it's quite interesting here as well. I want you to just look at the themes up above. Now, Key Stage 3, this is 11 to 14-year-olds. Okay, this is 11. I'll explain this later. Okay, I'll explain this later. Okay. I shout a lot. Okay. So, connected learning, why is it like a thematic units? Now, look at the thematic units where the astronomy and space science fits under. It's not where you traditionally see it, is it? Underneath the stars. Spiritual awareness. Why not? Look at Ireland. Look at the Ecclesiastical Centre. Look at who the bosses of the Armagh Planetarium and Observatory are. It's the church, the cathedral. It's the monks, the theologians were the first people really to be mapping the stars around the world. So, it's a very nice way to put it in. And the Curriculum Authority did not know, in answer to your question, did not know how on earth. In Northern Ireland, we had a few problems you may have heard over the years with the both sides of the community being quite divided. Now, how are we going to do religious education in the North? With spiritual awareness, which has always been a bit of a thorn in the side. I suggest, well, we use astronomy. And he says, well, is that not going to go really flying in the face of the scientists and mathematicians? I said, not at all. What we can do is get religious education teachers to use scientific rationale, go the other way around, and get mathematics teachers to get involved. So it actually falls under spiritual awareness in astronomy, because they're big themes. Now, the big themes is where astronomy can really come in, because you're saying spiritual awareness. How do you do that? But this, I mean this in the widest process. Where are we from? What is our meaning in the universe? How big is it? How old is it? How long is it going to last? So learning about things like this, and how the stars, the perspective of the night sky around the world, how the perspectives around it have actually changed the way we live. How society has grown because of the night sky we see. And what might happen to that society if we no longer can see that night sky? And we all know the answer there. The inspirational quality alone is lost. Again, this is on the website. I'm just putting this up here, by the way, folks. All of this stuff's completely free. All of the resources. I'm going to show you something later which is very similar to what Connie just did, which we've embedded into the curriculum for teachers. And you can see it's the way it's laid out. There's really two areas. We also, as I said, we use emerging technologies and the highest quality of resources we can get where possible. So some of you may have heard of the Fox telescope. The astronomers will have heard of this. These are research-grade robotic telescopes and Hawaiian telescope, 2-meter telescopes that are completely free to use in all of Ireland and across the UK. And the pupils, because of where they are in Hawaii and Australia, it's daytime here. So the pupils can use these research-grade telescopes with real scientists to do real science. It's really, really fantastic. And you'll see the 4 units: science, mathematics, English, religious education. Every time somebody in Northern Ireland says, you got religious education into science, and that's quite tricky. This is just showing you one of them. Is there life out there? And you can see it is the big questions. And what we've done in Northern Ireland, which is where it really helps with light pollution, is we've created quite a holistic journey. Now, believe me, I'm very, very interested in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But I'm also aware that a lot of people are not going to become scientists and mathematicians and engineers. However, let's be honest, they're going to become taxpayers in the future. So it is important. It's a really important thing. If they may not understand the endeavour, but if they realise why it's important, that is important in the future. And these are the future politicians sitting in front of us. Thanks, Connie. You can also see the links. The links are very explicit. You can see it in the diagram. But the teachers can decide if they want to learn a science lesson on its own. And maybe they don't get on with the maths teachers, so the maths teachers might want to do their own thing. What we're trying to encourage is a holistic approach where the teachers work together over 6 weeks on space and astronomy. Because one of the things we found when we asked kids, do you like physics? I was expecting the question to be, don't really like it. It wasn't. The kids do like physics. What they didn't like was a disjointed journey. The journey of coming out of a physics class after learning about some equation or doing some brilliant practical, then learning about Van Gogh in another class, and then doing something about Shakespeare. So instead, over 6 weeks, they learn about astronomy and space in every topic. And that makes it very, very wide open. And that really allows you to do things with things such as light pollution. I realise I'm getting short of time, and you probably can't see that anyway. Like I said, it's all on the website, and I'll give the links at the end. But you can see, for example, in the science and geography, what makes an environment extreme. And that allows you to think about where would I find extreme environments. Because an extreme environment on Earth, some people might think, if you're from America, you probably got up this morning, went outside. That's an extreme environment. We think that too, and we live here, believe me, we think that too. But the important thing is that the pupils don't really understand. So they have to find out where they find extreme environments. And then you open that up to planetary geology. Where else may you find these environments? Why are we exploring space? Why are we doing things like this? So it's all about starting with perspectives that pupils understand and the parents understand, and then opening that up to more abstract concepts. Light pollution falls into under stars, and I'm very proud of this, by the way. I'm very glad to be standing in front of you, because you probably can't see the key questions. Why study space? Important. You know, where are we in space? What do you see? But can you see down at number 6? How can we save the night sky? Every pupil in Northern Ireland can do this. They can actually look at this, and they can spend time learning about this. And I really do think that is the key to the future. If you can get it embedded in the curriculum at the young age, they will be more informed people in the future. So embedding it was a very, very important thing to do. I'm not going to go through this because you probably can't see it. But I showed you that personal and capabilities framework earlier. You can see down the left the learning intentions, to make links between ideas, to interpret images. So this is linking directly to the curriculum, to be aware of how others view the night sky. That's important. How do different religions, different countries do it? You know, how did we do it in the past? How are we going to do it in the future? And then linking this into really problems. So looking up, the sky might be. Looking down, so you're using Earth observation. We've seen a bit about that as well. And then investigations. And you can see something very similar to what Connie said. Place an image on the desk, a naked bulb beside it. I think you'll recognize what we're trying to do here. The pupils actually investigate themselves to different types of light pollution. And you can see to classify, to think creatively, and then audit what they've done. And then what they do is they go around their own school grounds looking at the lighting. The pupils go around their own school grounds, they do an audit of the lighting about what they've learned, and then they suggest changes to the school lighting in their own area. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I can't think of a better way to actually improve that. I'll not talk much about this because if you're coming to the education session later, the pupils will tell you more about this than I can. But what we're doing is we're using the latest 3D elements because, as I say, games are in the home. And a lot of the learning is starting to happen at home. And there isn't that much, to be honest, there isn't really, really good 3D learning games of the quality of an Xbox and of the quality of a Nintendo Wii. So what we have done is we have used a piece of software called Thinking Worlds, which I'm sure the pupils will tell you it's a tool that is used in industry and pharmacy. It's used. We're actually using it at the minute. We've just done a piece of software for industry, which actually helps soldiers in Iraq set up checkpoints. So the soldiers actually check it. What they have to do before they actually go to Iraq so they don't make a mistake when they're there. And the pupils are using exactly the same interfaces, creating job briefs, doing designs, and actually having things ready by a deadline, which is 2 o'clock today, by the way, guys, if you haven't got it finished. And we're also, by the way, future-proofing it because have you all seen 3D movies? Yeah? Stick on the glasses. That's the way Nintendo's going. In 5 years, in Nintendo Wii, you'd be running around the house with a pair of glasses on, destroying the house in mad 3D. It'd be fantastic. That's exactly what we're doing. We're looking at the 3D. So all of the stuff, and the people probably don't even know this, all the stuff that you've just written now will actually work on a 3D interface. So you can stick on 3D glasses and walk through the stuff that you've created. And I think it's very, very important looking at those emerging technologies. I'm not going to look at this now because you can see what the students are doing. But all I can say is that this was a pilot, what the pupils are doing. 2 o'clock, they're going to be showing off their work and the rationale. I'm very interested in the skills that go on behind it, to be honest. From my point of view, I'm interested to see what skills they develop, the thinking skills, the core skills. You know, did they become better team players? Did they understand the importance of ownership and citizenship while doing this? Did they understand the topic? Why did they choose directions? And that's taking control of the learning. The teacher acts as the facilitator. They take control of the learning. And you can do this with light pollution. You let the pupils understand it because they're the future taxpayers and they're the future influencers of the economy and they're the future influencers of our environment. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Robert?
Always happens to stun people into silence. Can we talk about that later? Yeah. To be honest, there's no easy fix. It was a 6-year lobby. It was a 6-year lobby with the curriculum, and we knew the curriculum was going to change at some stage because it become very staid. I mean, we were... May I? Just very, very quickly? Okay. One of the things we did at the Armagh Planetarium, which is where I was originally based, under the guidance of Dr. Tom Mason, is that I started up school astronomy clubs for secondary schools. To help teachers become more involved with astronomy and help give them confidence. Pupils will tell you this too. If a teacher's confident with a tool in the classroom, they'll use it. If they're not confident with the tool in the classroom, they don't want to look like a fool. So you have to gain the confidence of the teachers. The really nice thing is it wasn't maths and science teachers. I mean, predominantly it was. But we had RE teachers that have a passion, amateur astronomers that are teachers wanting to get involved. We got up to, I think there's 80 schools now in Northern Ireland. And remember, there's 238, I think I heard yesterday, secondary schools in Northern Ireland, okay? Out of that, 70 of them have active astronomy clubs, which is very, very good. But then when the curriculum changed, it was quite smart because I realized what was going to happen. I got those teachers to lobby the Department of Education to say, look at the impetus that can be provided by using astronomy and space science. And a minister, and is there any ministers here? Better say this. But a minister, you're probably, you do want to be doing something that's going to be detrimental to your career. But if a minister makes a decision, if it's backed up, he does this decision because the teacher said so. The Minister for Education had the lobby group from the teachers saying, we need astronomy and space in the classroom. It is brilliant for STEM. It's brilliant for a holistic approach. That's really the way we did it. And that's starting to happen in other places. I know some places in England, in Yorkshire, for example, have started up astronomy clubs. And they're really starting to push the whole space. They had the entire space shuttle crew over, for example, big media events. Pretty sure in that area you're going to see space becoming an astronomy, becoming more and more of a tool for inspiration and to look at STEM. So it takes a long journey. It's a 5-6 year journey. It's not a quick fix. But curriculums around the world right now are changing from the sort of pedagogy that we're looking at to the skill-based learning because the economy has to go that way. And as that happens, I think what you're going to find is there's more opportunities to embed things like light pollution, astronomy and space science. Does that help?
So effectively you've pointed the way. You just got to tell everyone to follow Northern Ireland.
Well, a lot of people do. In Nigeria, for example, I was over in Nigeria with UNESCO. I work with UNESCO as a space education team, and Tanzania. They're following these up. They're using Northern Ireland curriculum. Gateshead in England is using, it's word for word, the stuff that we're doing. They're changing to fit their creative curriculum, but it's exactly the same thing. Problem solving, developing team skills, ICT, communicating with others. Real world skills that are needed to be employable in the end of the day.
Could we have another round of applause for our speaker? And we'll... I think lunchtime would be a great time to ask him some questions, and I'm sure you have a lot.